to start by saying it's an honor to get to talk to you. I've seen the film three times already now. I saw it twice at Sundance, and then I watched it last night. And it's like my favorite of the year. It's such a beautiful film,
You made
and
me cry. Thank you. That's so nice.
I'm just honored I get to speak with you this morning.
Oh, thank you for watching it three times. I'm also a someone who watches movies over and over. So it's really cool to hear that someone did that for mine. So thank you. Yeah,
It's such a beautiful film. I feel like so many queer ship in the night films kind of set in the past are just almost like trauma porn to me, where it's just they kind of focus on kind of the hardship of it all. But I feel like you've captured a film that's so tender and so hopeful. And I was wondering if that seed of hope was there from the start.
definitely the seed of hope was totally there from the start. I I feel like a lot of times what comes up is like, do you ever think the coming out story will run its course and we won't need them anymore? And I always say, like, we will always need coming out stories. But I think it's the kind of I think it's about how we tell those coming out stories that really matters. And I think growing up, when I would watch or kind of like know about movies that are, in the queer space, it always ended a lot of times in death, and it was really important to me that no queer people died at the end of my movie, especially my first one. And I think that there is a place for those stories. It's just, I know I wanted to create the movie that I wanted to see, that I needed to see. And I wanted to create the movie that like represented me and my friends. That was really important to me too. So does that answer your question though?
It does. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
I know that Russell got attached. You were kind of thinking about him when writing after seeing Angels in America in London. And I was wondering, how did Tom get attached to the project?
So, and this is my first time making a movie, so I didn't know this, but your script, when you're casting your movie, you have a casting director, and we worked with Bernie Telsey and Adam Caldwell and Amelia McCarthy, and they send the script out to agencies, and then the agencies read it, and then they think like, oh, what talent could we send out for this, or and so I got an email from Rachel Mangione at Gersh, who was like, have you considered Tom Blythe? Like, he was just sent to me, like, not my casting team. And I was like, I don't know who that is. And so I went to watch the Hunger Games, and I never saw the Hunger Games before. So I didn't know what to expect, but I saw it and I was like, okay, I could see him as a police officer. And I saw that he was actually a brunette. Like, so I was like, okay, I think this is, I would love to meet him. And as soon as he popped on the Zoom, the way he had the lighting was just right, because the way he looked into the camera, I just felt such a history in his eyes. And I knew that that was what I needed for the character of Lucas. And through talking with him, I realized that this was like the person I was writing the movie for. Because you think that, you imagine other actors as you write. And I had an actor in mind for a really long time and it didn't work out. But it honestly is such a blessing in disguise. Yeah.
Did you have any early chemistry reads where you realized these two Brits were the perfect ones for these
Yeah,
roles?
I think it was, I mean, since it was my first film, I couldn't really I couldn't ask too much of,
Yeah.
the actors. It was kind of like you have to offer the role and like, hope for the best. But yeah, no, Russell and Tom did read a scene together, and it was just pretty, like you could just feel it. It was so instant, and it was yeah, like having Russell involved, it still just means so much to me. He's such a legend, and in the UK and America, like, and I feel like I got to have really amazing conversations with him about our queer experiences while we were crafting this role, and they will just like stay with me forever. Yeah.
The women in Lucas's life are very non-judgmental. I was wondering how important was it for there to be a character like Emily in his life?
I mean, that was like kind of what I was trying to get at earlier with your other question, was like I wanted it to represent my friends. When I was coming out, or when I was in college and struggling with my sexuality, but not really knowing it, there was a woman, a friend named Emily, who my roommate had a crush on. And so I thought I had a crush on her too, but really I had a crush on my roommate. And Emily knew like what was happening. And she never, and it was a very stressful situation because it was like we were 19 and just like so dramatic, but she was always so kind about what she knew, but I didn't know that she knew that I was like kind of struggling with that, but she could tell. And she was so wonderful about it, and I really wanted a character like that for Luke. I wanted someone like that for Lucas in his for him to have someone like that in his life, but also I wanted Emily to represent the women that I know, like my friends. So many times in queer movies, especially if it's about two, cis men being together, the wives are at home or their partners are at home, and they're like, "Woe is me! My husband is leaving me. I have
Mhm.
no, like I have no path forward. Like this is my existence." And I just the women in my life, I don't know anyone really like that, and I wanted my friends represented on screen. Like she has her own life, she has her own goals, and I think I wanted to go a little bit deeper and show how she like loves him and what that love could look like.
That's beautiful. And you do a really good job at capturing that warmth of emotion, but also the anxiety as well. For the high eight shots, did you say something at Sundance that you shot most of those yourself, or was that just kind of in the conceptual phase?
Yeah, I shot all the high eight footage in the film. Yeah,
And it
yeah.
was just like between takes, basically, you were just trying to get what you could.
Yeah, it was a lot of times I was shooting alongside Ethan while he was shooting, or I would pull the actors aside. And a lot of times, a lot of the B-roll, because we only had 18 days to shoot, so I needed a way to show the world, but I didn't want it to feel like stock footage,
Mm.
like something that we shot after. And so on in between sets when I was being driven around, I would just like film the roads, or my mom would drive me around. And it was actually really therapeutic because that's how I captured my world in Syracuse as a kid. And so I was coming back as a man, filming on this camcorder that I would have filmed on when I was a kid at these like things like zooming by the window, and just like it kind of felt it was, yeah, I can only describe it as therapeutic. Like I was kind of like revisiting a place and telling my younger self that like he's gonna be okay. And it felt very full circle. Yeah.
And final question. I would love to know about the music of the film. You use a few songs from the past, but then you also use some music from the composer Emily Wells. And I was just wondering, how did she get attached? Because this is her first time working as a composer, and what brought some of her previous music into the film?
Yeah, I worked with music supervisors Pete Davis and Felker. Fecker. I can't Felker. I can never like pronounce his last name. But he's like a dear friend of mine. Yeah, so they introduced me to Emily Wells, and I met Emily before I shot,
Mhm.
and I interviewed her, and I thought she was like too cool. I was like, I don't think she's gonna do this. Like, this is going to be scrappy, blah, 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 blah. But she like loved the script. And so I kind of like went and shot, and I was like, if it works out, it works out. And during editing, I would listen to her music, and I gave her music to my editor, and I was like, let's like, put Emily's music in there. And in my heart, when I was like thinking about it, I was like, she's the person who needs to do this. And so when I offered it to her, she was like immediately yes. And then she was kind enough to like let me keep some of the music that I had been using as temp music in the cut. And then she ended up writing a song for the film called My San
Such a
Francisco.
beautiful song. I
So
literally
really,
like could not stop like singing it forever. So like when the credits came on last night and I was watching, I just kept rewinding and listening to it like
it's
again and
on
again
it's
and
on
again.
it's on iTunes.
Okay, wonderful,
It's
wonderful.
by and Spotify, or Apple Music and Spotify. Yeah, so definitely the soundtrack comes out the day the movie's released, but right now the single is out. Yeah. When she sent me that song, I was like, it felt like the two characters were talking to each other. And I was like, it was such a wild experience to see that like something you wrote could spark such a beautiful song. And yeah, it's amazing.
Anytime you hear the instrumental, like when they're kind of getting close to each other, or he's like, "Can I touch you?" and that just comes in, it just like fills me with so much warmth.
I'm so glad. Me too.
I
Yeah.
just want to say thank you again so much for talking to me, and thank you so much for making this film.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.